in control against Artosis debate, and keep going back and forth.
That'll be easy.
Or feel civilized. For the turn of the heat. We gotta move.
It is April 12, 2011, and welcome to State of the Game. I'm JP McDaniel, and we have quite the cast today, but we're all a little bit sad. So, just, well, except for Geoff and me, I guess we're doing all right. Well, Tyler, you don't have any reason to be sad either, do you?
Yeah, I do, man.
Oh, wait. Shit.
Good Lord.
My bad. My bad.
JP, you should get a show where you talk about StarCraft 2 and the recent code.
Yeah, dude.
I totally forgot. Anyways, Artosis, you said you wanted to start off the show, but before you do, our friend Nadagast actually messaged me and says, if you were tuning into the pregame, he says, the guy Artosis just beat is the guy that I played my first game today, and I got promoted to Grandmaster off of.
Oh my God!
So Artosis,
so
tell me about your day, Artosis.
Okay, so Grandmaster is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday, I was getting ready because yesterday I went to 2 team houses to film a bunch of stuff. And before I left, I made sure I had a comfortable rating. I was ranked 80th on the North American server before the Grandmaster started.
Congrats.
And I was like, all right, this is enough. I can wake up tomorrow, play my games before the NASL, watch the NASL, and I'll be in Grandmaster. Cool. And Grandmaster, it looks like this thing that you're going to need to be in for some reason. Like, Blizzard's going to come up with some weird stuff that we don't know about, and, you're supposed to be in this league for that. I feel that, right? So it's really important for me to get in this league. I really want to. So I sacrificed custom games this week. I played 1 custom game in preparation for the NASL. Everything else was ladder, try to get Grandmaster. So I'm like, all right, 80th place yesterday. I leave. I wake up this morning. It's half an hour until NASL. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'll log on. I'll play my game. I'll get to promoted. So I get on, and I play my game, and I beat the guy, and I come out of the game, and I'm not promoted. I'm like, huh, that's weird. So I go, and I play, another game, and I win. I don't get promoted. I'm like, all right. And then I play another game, and I lose. And by now, I'm pretty angry because NASL is starting. And so I just keep playing, and then I go on a sick losing streak. So I'm pretty angry, I have to say. And I don't know, man. What the fuck is this? I was ranked 8th. It's supposed to be top 200. People are like, oh, MMR, but I've been placed against the very top people in the ladder a lot. I mean, I was, playing... It was
yeah,
up.
You just faced the Broly build,
Yeah, the Buki build. That's, Nadaga got promoted off of that, What fuck is this stupid ladder that I'm ranked that high, I play my games, I win, and I'm not promoted? I'm not as angry as I was earlier because Tyler's been making me laugh. But, I am still angry about this. This is pretty fucking ridiculous.
Could you say that the ladder is imbalanced?
It's not the time, Geoff.
Oh, man. Well, I suppose we should introduce everyone here if you are not familiar. We've got Sean Day9 Plot. Sean, what is it that you're eating right there? Everyone is asking.
Talk to me about this.
We'll come back around, man. We'll come back around. It's the circle of...
Artosis said his piece. Let's go into the show now. It's
Before we continue on, I just got to introduce everyone. Sean, what is it that you're eating?
Chipotle.
Okay. All right. So it is
Chipotle.
Chipotle.
I couldn't stop eating and just answer the question. I had to eat at the same time.
Artosis helped you out
the
there.
state of the game. I'm always going to be eating something.
We've also got Liquid Tyler Wasilewski sporting the new headset. Tyler, explain why.
No, what? Why? 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 You're just here to torture. You're here to torture everyone that's here.
That's my job, man.
JP, just do the introductions.
Yeah.
And afterwards, be like, and how are you? And then when we answer, be surprised. Tell me more about that.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come up. Geoff, how are you, man? What's going on? We've got
Doing
Geoff
great.
and EG and
Been an
Control
amazing
Robinson.
couple of days, yeah.
Jeff is actually on Cloud 9 right now. He's simultaneously casting the NASL and also on State of the Game. So what did you think of the day one, Geoff, of NASL? What are your thoughts kind of reflecting back on it all?
It's interesting because I'm definitely looking at it with a much more critical eye than any other cast I've done. Like, I've done GCPL before and some other tournaments. People are like, you know, you could do so-and-so better. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. But with this, it matters. This is my job. So I'm looking at it, I'm seeing stuff, you know, that I absolutely can improve upon and need to and want to, and I'm pretty excited. I think it's like I actually can't wait to get back in the studio tomorrow, as weird as that sounds.
We were talking about it earlier. It's actually kind of awesome, the fact that you can come home at 5 or 6 in the afternoon and not stay up till 3 a.m. or whatever to stay up for GSL. You can watch high-quality matches. I cannot look forward to that more. Monday through Friday, correct?
Tuesday through Saturday.
Tuesday
actually.
through Saturday. Why not Mondays, Geoff?
People play on Mondays, and then it gets cast on Tuesdays.
Okay.
You follow that all the way through Saturday.
I see. And then Artosis, you know him obviously from casting the GSL Code S World Championships, being Artosis. What else do you do that we can promote Artosis?
I go on sick losing streaks when I'm supposed to be making Grandmaster League.
Now, I guess to speak on that, Geoff, did you make Grandmasters today?
Oh, you know, I found it actually really easy. I just logged on, played a game, and and excuse me, I didn't interrupt your story about not getting in the Grandmasters League. I just played a game and 4-gated some kid, I think, and then you know, about 7 minutes later, I was in the league. It was pretty cool. Get this flashy badge, and people are congratulating you, and you know, I'll tell Dan all about it. Like, it's actually pretty cool.
Tyler, are you Grandmaster?
I am Grandmasters League.
Was it one game? Was it one game?
I find it kind of ridiculous that you're actually asking us if we're in Grandmaster. You should.
I'm just wondering how many. I'm wondering how many
on.
games it took. Is all.
Right, Dan. Like, we're all Grandmasters.
How many
With
games, Tyler?
He hit like find match, and it said before you start.
Here's
I think
Grandmasters.
you should be in Grandmaster and just promoted him.
Yeah.
So that's a story for you.
That's what happened. Like,
okay.
I logged in. It said, and then you know how it says like who you are. It says Liquid Tyler, and then you have to click another button like as if
hit OK.
you have another identity. It said Liquid Tyler, and then the subtitle Grandmaster, and I was like, yeah, that's me.
There you go.
That's what I logged into today.
There you go. That's the story I was looking for.
It's pretty simple. It's, you know, if I could pass it on to somebody else, I'd probably do it just because it's lost its luster for me, you know? So,
I mean, do you think Artosis alluded to the fact that this is maybe going to tie into something that Blizzard is going to be doing? Is that going to, I guess, promote you guys to secure Grandmaster on more than one server, or are you guys just not even going to worry about it?
Well, Dan's got to get it on one server first, but, I mean, I feel like for the rest of us, it should be no problem. I'll probably just log on each server and play a game. It should be pretty easy.
Want to know Grandmaster League?
How you doing over there, Dan? You good? You gonna have to leave?
I'm just. I don't know why. Like, I was 80th, man. I don't know. I had a pretty high ladder score and shit. I was getting paired versus good people.
If it makes you feel better, there's people in the chat legitimately upset with me for teasing you about this.
Yep.
They're like, he pushes it too far sometimes. You just don't make fun of a man's ladder rank.
Let's go ahead and move on. Talk about something that Artosis did the other day, which was the GSO World Championships. Who else has watched that? I was in Indiana. I was in Indiana. So I always try to combine Indianapolis and Indiana into one word. It never works out. But I was there, so I couldn't watch it. Geoff, you said you watched one game?
No, all of it.
Okay, all of it. Tyler, did you watch all of it?
Not all of it. I watched some of it.
Okay, and Sean?
Most of it.
Okay, so Artosis, looking back since you commentated it, what were your thoughts on those games? And how shitty is it the Marine King is still second after like 40th Grand Finals?
Oh god, I hate this.
Well, he's hitting players that are just better than him. MVP is like 10 times. I just have to say it. I mean, it's true. if you look at those games, he actually, MVP just showed that he's a better player in every single game, even the games he lost. And obviously Nesty is better than Marine King, so I mean, it's just a tough beat.
Geoff, what were your thoughts on the games?
Well, I was really proud of the Foreigners in the earlier rounds. Even in that kind of that show match series, I thought it was really awesome to see like TT1 performing so well and White Raw playing exceptionally well. And even when the Foreigners lost, I felt like it didn't look. I mean, I just can't help but to bring up the Brood War perspective, where it was like not even in the same league, and it's certainly not the case right now. So that's exciting for me. The semifinals and finals are pretty boring as far as I was concerned. Like I saw 2 TVPs and I was like, oh yes, I'll get to learn and see all this awesome stuff. And I didn't think that was the case, but I'll let Tyler talk about why it was so bad. I feel like that's his role now.
Is that Tyler's role now on State of the Game?
See, this is the one show I feel like taking the day off on that role, because it's come to the point where I've just lost too much stuff where like I can't even take myself seriously criticizing anyone. Like I feel like I need to put my head down and win some things. So I don't know, man. I gotta opt out.
I think he's passing the buck back to you.
I think that's too bad, though. I mean, I'll do a little mini rant real quick. I don't.
Sure, go for it.
I don't disagree with Tyler's sentiments at all, but I'll tell you what. Like I posted this in the thread, and I'll say it now too. It's a shame, and it's a blessing that this show we're so accessible. Like when Tyler makes a comment about MC or Protoss or just gameplay in general, you can track him down. You can say something that he will see. You can tell him your thoughts. And that's not how the NFL is. It's not how ESPN is. You can't track one of those guys down and say, hey, I thought you're a total schmuck for the way you talked about Peyton the other day. He's the best quarterback ever. You know, like, who are you? And I think that's too bad because Tyler doesn't just say, MC is bad, and then, like, we all chuckle and we move on. He actually explains the build, talks about the circumstance, and gets into the game at a level that people pay hundreds of dollars for coaching to try and find out, to try and hear. And he's sharing that knowledge for free, and he's giving analysis that people should be, like, beating small... No, okay, I'm not going to go that far, but they should be doing drastic things to get that information. So I think it's too bad. And you know what? I don't think it's Tyler's fault that today he doesn't feel like going into that, but I think a lot of people need to reevaluate that. Be critical of players. That doesn't mean we dislike.
Yeah,
something wrong. Like them. It's good.
To touch upon that, actually, I'm like, if Day9 is light, I'm dark. Like he'll highlight what people are doing that is like really good and intelligent and nice. And I'm more likely to hate on a person and be like, listen, this guy's doing this and this and this wrong right now. This is not acceptable at Code S, you know? And I actually get a decent number of people that are insane that actually come and find me and write me mean things. They like, every now and then I get a PM where a person just explains why I am a waste of life and stuff. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, I just, it's pretty bad.
I don't know, he forgot Baneling speed. I thought maybe he should have got it. Sorry to ruin your whole year.
Has anyone showed up at the GOM studio and done that, Artosis?
No, people like that don't tell you in real life.
This is true.
But guys, I don't want anyone to feel like the trolls have won. Like I'm backing down now. Just this week, man. It's been a bad week. It's been a bad week for me.
Can I steal the conversation just for a moment? So I'm on SC2ranks.com looking at the U.S. Grandmaster list. And right now in 162nd place, there's a fucking guy that is 9 wins, 10 losses. I have played like 150 fucking games on the server, and it is not letting me in. But this guy that's 9 and 10 is in. Another guy that's 7 and 7 is in as well.
Are you hoping that maybe Blizzard's listening, Dan, and that they'll just give you the gift you in? Sean, are you still there, by the way? Did your graphic card fuck up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, your webcam's just frozen, but you have a good face for it to freeze on, so we'll just let it be until it fixes itself. Or you can do that as well. Also, Sean, you want to give thoughts on the World Championships? I think you're the only one that hasn't commented on them yet.
I'm super depressed that Marine King Prime didn't win. There's always that ideal from childhood that comes along that like everyone's created equal, so it's it's about time for him to win some firsts to balance off with those seconds.
Not so much.
Which keeps getting seconds. I feel so bad for him because like we even talked about last week. He's like the most emotionally transparent person you'll ever see about like anything. It's just
I can't talk about the face though. Yeah.
Like always, and then seeing him lose is just like such a heartbreaker. So my heart was broken. And MVP he just like only wins, so it like sucks. It's just ugh.
I was gonna see if you guys have anything to say about like the actual games and what happened in them, but sounds like is there anything that really stood out, or was it just MVP was clearly the better player?
I think that's it.
I noticed this like kind of like mental shutdown of Marine King Prime against MVP when I watched those games. It's like Marine King plays like such a, it's like I don't want to call it passive, but like a real cautious style. One of those like I'm going to do everything the right way instead of doing things the smart way. And then you watch like MVP play and he's just like building a third command center after like 2 barracks. Yeah. And it's like really, really strong and clearly well timed. I feel like Marine King Prime sort of psyched himself out a little bit, which depresses me.
They actually play customs together a whole lot, and MVP like always wins them too. I mean, he just has this guy's number completely.
That's too bad. Do you think we'll ever see Marine King take first in an event, or is he just gonna?
Not with MVP up there.
Yeah, I mean, is he ever going to be able to overcome kind of what MVP has always been? I guess stealing first place from him, Artosis. That was a question.
Yeah. But MVP can be sniped by a toss, though. I think.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Huck's match, like in the first round. MVP beat Huck 2-1, and like Huck his play was pretty questionable. I'll just say that. I mean, that's not the best that he can play, and you could definitely see how any like pretty good Protoss could snipe MVP, especially in a best of 3. And then the other Protoss he faced was San in the semis, and well, it wasn't the best showing either. But I think if you could have MVP sniped by a Protoss, Marine King would be ecstatic. He'd be like, I'm going to win this tournament now.
Well, we'll have to see. I guess when is Codes starting, Artosis? We can see how if that actually happens.
Tuesday.
Okay, so tune into that. I also want to say, is Huck going to make it out of his group? He goes against Inca first. He's also got July and Rain. I guess we could honestly preview the group since. No, they'll be starting actual next Tuesday, so we'll do that next state of the game. But is Huck going to make it out of his group, Tyler? I'll just throw that to you real quick before I move on.
Go with Tyler first. You're so interesting that way.
What? Yeah, it's always me first, man. Do me last.
I tossed it around. What?
No, do me last, man. I'm your like go-to guy. Like, Tyler, let's hear your thoughts first. You know what, man?
I think I've asked you like once, twice. That makes sense. Geoff, go, because Tyler's being a pussy today.
Here's what I'm going to say. And in the past, I've been like, oh, I'm so excited for Huck. I think he's going to be amazing. I think Korea's going to do him really well. And I still want that to be the case. So by no means am I rooting against him. I'm going to watch GSL Code S for the foreigners, for Jinro and for Huck, primarily. And, hopefully for good games too. But I don't think he will. I feel like he's been playing below his abilities. I mean, everything I've seen, he like has this anxiety about cheesing, I mean, I was talking to Tyler. I think it was at MLG, and he was talking about, or maybe it was on State Game. I can't remember. He was talking about how he feels that Huck opens up aggressively, and that's kind of how he feels out the game, and then he falls back from there. And even if that's the case, and I think that's fine, I think he's been committing to the aggression like way too much. It's been losing him games.
Yeah, a bit too much.
Oh, now you want to comment, Tyler?
Hey,
Artosis.
It's the difference from starting from scratch, a blank slate, or like having something to go off of. And I'm always the blank slate guy. You just throw me a blank slate all night.
All right, man. Well, I won't ask any more of you tonight. Sean, you look very, very uninterested in this. Should we move on, Sean?
Totally, man. Wow. I will say though that I think Huck is just definitely being a little over-aggressive. Kind of a lot of it over-aggressive. It's like there's like 3 bunkers and all his SCVs and like 4 tanks behind it, and he runs up and like loses half the stuff, and then like regroups for another attack. And it's kind of interesting because like what really sucks about a lot of aggressive play is that if it backfires, like you look horrible. But when you win, you look like you just smashed the other person apart in a way that like wasn't even possible. Because like you watch like some of his games from like Moonin at MLG, and I will say a good player against a weaker player. I mean, I would argue that I think Huck is better than Moonin. Moonin's like definitely good, obviously, as he did so well at MLG. But I mean, like Moonin's build, pretty much any player who's like Masters League is going to have their build locked down solid to like minute 9, or else he wouldn't get to the Masters League pretty much. And like Huck just storms right on in and wins at like minute 7 convincingly. It's like, oh my god, I didn't know that you could do that. And then like even took games off Greetorp in that exact same way. Just like a lot of different kind of funky aggression tactics. So I mean, even though it lost, I'm kind of hoping that maybe fleshes it out a little bit, because QXC's succumbed to that curse like a number of times where he's so over aggressive that he just knocks himself out of like every single tournament. But then, you know, when it works, he knocks MVP out of TSL, so.
It's true. Artosis, do you have any thoughts on Huck before we move on?
I mean, I want him to win so badly. I'll be rooting for him, but I do not see him getting out of that group. Inca is just better PvP, from what I've seen at least. Huck seems to have some problems early game PvP.
You think it'll be Inca in July then?
Yeah, I would say without any doubt that those two are the favorites of that group.
All right. Well, we'll find out. Not next Tuesday, whenever those games are played. I forget the actual date. Later on in one of the later groups, but I'm sure we'll be talking about it when we see the results. Let's go ahead and move on, though. We got Geoff's thoughts on the NASL opener. I want to get everyone else's thoughts. Tyler, I know you were watching it, at least the beginning of it, but I can't throw to you first, as you do that smile. So we're going to throw to Sean first. Sean, talk to me about the NASL.
I watched the games, and it was awesome. And then I had to do it daily, and then my computer crashed mid-daily. But I was definitely watching it beforehand, and it's kind of cool, the idea that I'm watching like insanely high-caliber matches at
5 p.m.
8:30. No big deal. I would imagine that the productivity of all StarCraft players who have homework is just going to plummet.
It's true.
Because you just watch it like live for free. But I will say some of the results were not what I would have wanted.
Should we spoil it for people who haven't watched it yet?
I think it's okay to spoil exactly one result.
What's that?
One of my good StarCraft friends did not end up winning his match, despite the fact that I was rooting for him as hard as I could.
Is that crying or laughing?
I'm waiting to see if Dan's going to chime in. I need to fill this void.
I don't know. What am I supposed to say to that, guys? I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't win, man. Fuck.
Did that replay help at all from MLG? Dan?
No, it didn't help even a little bit.
All right.
No, I thought I would lose against Geoff, to be honest.
Geoff is so good.
His ZVP is actually like astoundingly strong. And he scouted the cheese that I was going to do game 1, and I was like, oh shit, I don't know, and things just went downhill from there. I'll do better next week.
Tyler, I guess this falls to you, since you're the last one. Just NASL opener.
NASL in general?
Yeah, it's the opening day.
Dude, man, there's like so many games to watch now. It just blows my mind. Like, we haven't felt it yet, but the flood of games has now started.
We haven't even the IGN League hasn't even started yet. I think that's next week, right? Something like that.
It is.
It's like 9 days from now.
Yeah. So as soon as all that starts, it's going to be absurd.
That's actually so true. Because right now I barely watch everything. Like I catch up on TSL like 4 days after it's over. And of course the GSL I'm there for takes me forever to watch all the Code A matches. But now with NASL as well, and the IGN whatever thing's starting.
Pro League, yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I'm
there's
used to
more
knowing
coming,
every
too,
single
so it
match
should be absurd.
and seeing every game, but now I can't do that.
I think eventually people are just going to start watching what is putting the production values and having the better games out there, which probably the way it should be. But since no one else is saying it, Geoff,
Well,
I just want to say that I thought you guys did fine on the whole production quality. Everyone was wondering about after the Clash of the Titans how it was going to end up. And I got to say it was good today, man. I was very proud.
Thank you.
I was very proud to see all that. Don't know why no one else commented on that, but everyone's a little bit emo today, which is kind of funny, being that I'm the one that's having to be chipper and whatnot. But let's let's go ahead and move on to. I guess we'll do TSL 3 first. What, Tyler? You got something to say?
You act like it's such a burden. Oh, I got to be happy. I had to compliment Geoff. God, guys, like, what's your problem, man?
I can't win today. I'll just get credit. You guys are like, are you guys in the chat? Is this the chat in Skype with me right now? Can't do anything right, but
What?
let's move on.
I can't find the chat. It's somewhere on one of these monitors, but I just don't know where to find it.
Let's talk about TSL 3. And since Tyler doesn't feel like talking today, let's talk about White Raw versus MC first. Who actually... I didn't actually ask you guys who watched this first. Sean, was that the game that you were casting, or did you cast Sunday?
I casted the Saturday set of games, between MC and White Raw.
So talk to me about that match. We'll talk about the other match. Talk to me about White Raw MC.
Well, there's an opening. There's the 4 gate. It's quite powerful. And it just worked like a ton. Except when White Raw did it. I'm slowly recalling the games. I was mainly thinking about the last game where like White Raw expanded. And he went 2 gate expand, and then MC just marched right on in and just killed him with just a bunch of gateway units, and it was kind of uninteresting. But what I really liked a lot was that MC was doing this really delayed gateways 2 and 3. So that was at the very least cool to see him go like.
You know who that is?
Let's see how she's doing, Geoff.
Okay. Sorry, Sean.
Oh no, it's cool.
Yeah. Hey, Anna, you interrupted Sean.
What?
You interrupted Sean.
I'm Sean.
Hi Anna.
She says sorry.
Oh, I thought you said hi Sean, but just like.
I'm here with Abby Girl. She and I wanted to see how much you enjoyed any stuff.
Oh, well, thank you, honey. Do you have any questions or anything?
Well, Abby, do you have any questions? Abby wanted to say that she has a crush on Artosis.
Oh.
Who has
Artosis,
what?
a beauty queen has a crush on you.
Sounds about right.
Abby's girl or something.
No, we know Abby's girl is patient.
Okay, we gotta wrap this up then. Let's, you have any...
Fine. They're mine. I love JP and Tyler and Day 9 and Artosis.
Well, we all love you back, honey.
I didn't say I love you,
That's okay.
but I do.
I know.
Bye.
Right, bye.
You hear
Sure.
that, Dan?
So,
We got referred to by our online aliases. Yeah. Pretty cool, man.
Sean, as you were talking about MC White Raw,
I like the fast
4 gate
robo
or something.
build. So that was cool.
Is it?
I was into the 4 gate robo.
Seems
Or
to
the 3-gate
be
robo.
that those two are hitting each other in almost every major tournament in the past like 2 or 3 weeks. Is that becoming a bigger rivalry, so to speak, than IdrA Huck, Sean? What are your thoughts on that?
It can't really be a rivalry because, like, you know, White Raw's just like this relentlessly awesome person. He's always just like, yeah, everything's great, and everyone always wants to like interview him, and no one even like understands it, but it's just like amazing. And then like there's the White Raw's Everywhere thread on Team Liquid where I spent hours laughing, just re-looking at old pictures again and again and again. And they don't like have any animosity to each other, do they? I don't.
White Raw, I don't think is able to have. Are you talking about?
Animosity at all.
Yeah. I don't think he's actually ever upset whatsoever.
But I mean, between Huck and IdrA, there have been some.
I think there might be some, yeah. Maybe a little
so
bit.
I mean, like that's sort of like one of those, you know, meta matches. You know, like with MC versus White Raw, it's just like two really good Protosses who make for some cool games. But you know, like Huck versus IdrA, it's a good storyline for any tournament.
It's a good drama.
I'd love it if MC tried to talk smack about White Raw, because his reaction would be like the thing of a legend. He'd be like, I think he's dumb, and he's an old player. And White Raw would be like, oh, he's good. He's a good man. He's probably right.
Dan, when I asked Sean that question, you were either agreeing with him or disagreeing with it. What are your thoughts on those two, I guess, rivalries right now in StarCraft?
Are you talking about Huck IdrA or
Both.
White Raw?
Both. Which one is the better / bigger rivalry?
What is the... I'm not even sure. Are we talking about White Raw MC?
Yes. They've hit each other like 3 times.
I don't know. I just do not see that as any sort of rivalry. Huck IdrA, I don't really see that so much as a rivalry. Maybe a little bit, but I don't know, man. You guys are like all staring at your webcam, like waiting for something deep. White Raw is not a mechanical player, and I don't see PvP ever being a strength for him, even though he did like amazing games occasionally.
Yep.
But yeah. So that's not a rivalry. I'm sorry.
All right.
You apologize.
It's okay. I won't be upset about that.
Like JP wants to be a rivalry so badly, like I can.
Well, it was
hear
more.
it in-
I got that actually from Wheat on Twitter. It was saying that it's a bigger rivalry possibly than IdrA Huck. So that's where I was pulling
Oh,
it
I'm
from.
sorry to Wheat then.
Yeah, I should be apologizing to him, not me.
See it.
Trying to think. Geoff, did you watch White Raw MC at all? In TSL3? Did we lose Geoff?
If you guys can hear me, just give me a minute. The Skype's acting up.
Alright. Tyler, you want to talk about those games then? I can't ask you first, but I'm asking you last.
I didn't watch them yet.
Well, what about the game that you played in? Let's talk about that instead. This is going great.
Okay.
I don't know, what can I say? Like, I'm still playing bad in important matches. Like, I think Thorzane played well, but he didn't play in a way that I can't beat. So, it's on me to actually win when I have to win.
I'm curious, like, so, like, I've seen your triple, or your double,
Some number of...
Double Forge?
Tyler Bound! Your double Forge. I've seen that against, like, a Marine Marauder player, but, like, I'm curious how you, like, transition to that, like, out of mech. Like, what he did on game 1.
It's not really... I mean, you get an observer in his base before you start the double Forge, because it starts out as a 3-gate robo build. That's how I like to open most of the time. If I'm not doing that, then I'm opening with some kind of pressure where, you know, kind of like Huck does, open 3-gate pressure, and then you scout just by throwing a bunch of shit at the front of their base. So either way, before I like commit to double Forge, I know what they're doing. And actually against mech, I don't really like to double Forge. I like to just single Forge to get weapons, actually, because armor doesn't really do a whole lot unless they're supplementing with a ton of Marines. But yeah, I just single Forge, and then I play it, you know, pretty much how anyone else plays against Terran mech. It's not the same style of play at all as the double Forge. You just can't do it against mech. It doesn't really make sense.
I saw you go for, like, a lot of Colossi instead of Robo, and I know there were a lot of people discussing that. Or, excuse me, a lot of Colossi instead of Immortals, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the main mistake I made, was too many Colossi. I wasn't ready to engage him when I did engage him, but I did it anyway. Like, I knew, like, right when the battle started, like, I shouldn't have been fighting him. And I didn't really have to. I was going to definitely lose my gold if I didn't. But I probably could have saved my third. I mean, at least I could have delayed the fight a little bit to get things a little bit more in my favor, and then engaged when he's trying to kill my third. But really, I was already losing at that point. Like, my composition at that point when I did fight should have been better. And there was really, like, no excuse. You want more, like, Colossus heavy against tank heavy, I think, and then against more Thor heavy, you want more Immortal heavy. At least that's the way I like to play it. But my observers could see he was going Thor heavy, and I just kept building Colossi, so it was kind of dumb. I mean, you know how it is when you're playing a match. Like, you could have this whole encyclopedia of knowledge and know everything you're supposed to do, and actually, like, have the info to make the right decisions, but you just mess it up anyway.
Dan, you okay over there? Are you fighting your mic?
Me?
Yeah, I guess, do you have a fan on or something? It's blowing, like, right at the mic.
No, I didn't have anything like that going on. That must be Geoff or something.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
You guys are, like, battling back and forth.
I'll take it.
Just roll with it, Geoff. Geoff, you want to talk about Sunday's matches from the TSL3, QXE, Adele, and Nada Koss?
Yeah, you know, I was pretty. I was sad. I think this was not a good weekend for TSL games. Like, obviously the casting was off the wall. It was really good, and the production was really.
Just continue on, Geoff.
It's just like, so what do you think about that? Well, it doesn't matter who you ask, it just made us sad. Really bad. It's like, how was your food? Oh, it was kind of depressing, really. It was chicken tasty.
Skype went messed up again.
Oh, God. And a capacitor blew in my computer because it smells like burning. Blew out right in the middle of my daily. I'm like so bummed out.
Yeah.
Everything's just so sad, JP, man. I even feel bad for your show. I mean,
I don't know. The games just weren't that great, I guess is the point I was going to make. It's just disappointing.
Didn't we say last week on State of Game that Nada was just going to 3-0 Koss? Wasn't that the...
We did.
The
I mean, that was
Koss?
awesome. Congrats to Koss.
Yeah.
It just sucks because I feel like it was almost upstaged by how bad Nada played. Like, people were like, I don't even think that's Nada. Or someone's like, that was lag or something. I mean, he just looked terrible. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, Nada hasn't looked too good recently, but Koss actually looked really nice in the games that I've seen of him. I'm actually quite impressed by him and Ukraine in general. I don't know why they have so many good players. But, like, his turret placement was so intelligent. As Kretorp would say, it's like nice zoning, bro. You know? He's keeping the dropships completely out of his base. Not the, hey, if you drop here, you lose your dropship, but the, hey, you actually have to fly around through the middle of the map to get into my base with dropships. That's not going to happen. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Tyler, what about the Sunday games?
I didn't watch them, man. I mean, you gotta understand, like, I lost the third game to Thor.
I'm not criticizing you. You're
Hold
like,
on.
look, bro, what the fuck are you asking?
Let me explain what my life has been since I played Thorzane. I lost the third game. This is while the game's still going on. I lose the battle, and I'm like, okay, the game's over. And I just sit there, and I'm like, okay, so I lost this game. That's 3 in a row. I lost the match. That means I'm out of the TSL. Then I'm like, wait, what? And then, like, I throw off my headphones, and they break. And then I just turn off my PC.
Well, that's why he made the headphone remark. Oh.
Yeah, and then
You didn't know that before?
I'm like
Geoff was away, I think, when that happened. Or when
so I'm like a turtle now, and my head just kind of goes into my shell. And then I just came out like 2 hours ago for State of the Game because I got to show up. But that has been my existence. So no, I did not watch any of the TSL this weekend, and didn't catch up on the GSL World Championship. I did watch the NASL today.
I feel like
I watched DreamHack. I guess we're gonna watch or talk about DreamHack.
Talk about DreamHack. If that actually ends up somehow emo, then I don't know what the fuck we talked about. I was gonna transition into MLG Dallas, but I think we all know how that event win. Artosis sighing right there.
You can't rob me of MLG Dallas.
I know. Artosis and Geoff, you guys haven't had a chance to talk about it openly since Geoff wasn't on the show last week, and Artosis, I don't think, has just really talked about it. But
I have some things I want to say about MLG Dallas.
Let's hear it, man.
First off, Geoff, oh my God, congratulations. That
Thank
was
you, sir.
such a
True.
good showing by you. I'm like so impressed where you finished in that tournament. So
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
I was like so happy to actually see that. I could not believe that you got fourth. And Nanawa is so good. Like his builds are so nice. Like I kept on seeing him get better and better, and it's just so weird because he was such an all-in nub during the beta. You know, like he won a bunch of tours, but he was like, "No, I'm never gonna get a second Nexus." You know, like, and now he's like really, really good, and it kind of fits with how bad manner he was because when you're like really bad manner and angry all the time, you take the game so seriously, you're going to become really, really good. So I'm happy for him in that regard. Really good play by him. And that's what I have to say about MLG.
From what I heard, actually, your MLG viewing experience was perfect because you always tuned in at the right times, correct?
I ran, like, obviously it's on at, like, the worst hours possible for me, and, like, every time I randomly wake up, I'm like, oh, I guess I'll watch some MLG, and I turn it on, and I'm all smiles. It's like a game is just starting with IdrA or something. And, like, I tweet, I'm like, yeah, MLG, and then I get, like, 500 angry tweets back where they're like, the fucking stream is down, like, you're lying, stop trolling me, and I'm like, what? I don't know, man. But every time I turned it on, it was perfect.
Well, that's good to hear that we at least made someone happy. Geoff, you want to talk about it, MLG, son?
Yeah, you know, I've done some thinking, and I've revisited that extended series rule, and I've you know, I've done some thinking about it, and I could see the validity in it. You know, I think it's a fine rule. I'm just kidding, but there's like. You'd be surprised how many people are like, what do you think of the rule now, Geoff? It's like, I'm sorry I played MLG. I'm sorry. The tournament, like, I'm not even going to touch on the spectator perspective from people at home. I understand that sucked. Like, the message that everyone got, and if you didn't, it's because you put your head in the sand, is that MLG is sorry. They want to improve more than you want them to improve, and they will improve. And that's fine.
It's already started today. We've got booths for Columbus. If you guys
I'm not holding my breath, but as far as the actual, the important improvements, like streaming and making it so that when people pay to watch, they can watch it, I have 100% confidence that will be fixed, and that's fine. That's good. For me as a competitor at the event, I was introduced to this kind of the real MLG, you know, because like what we had the season before was like almost the impromptu. We're doing StarCraft now. It wasn't the like championship bracket. It wasn't the main stage. All that stuff. And I was happy with it. It was really cool. I loved stepping behind that curtain and seeing 3 separate like giant cubicles of casters. Like there's Day 9. There's Wheat. And, you know, it's like this really professional, amazing production. I liked the stage. I liked the player area. They added something like 33% more computers or something like that, or it was like 66, something ridiculous. I had no problem practicing. And here's the, like, extra perspective that I thought was funny. If you're in the top 16, you get treated like a king. They give you this badge called, like, the MLG Pro badge or whatever, and it was hilarious. I could sit anywhere, I could walk anywhere, I had my own computer to practice on. Like, I'd walk into the players area and pull up a chair to watch one of my teammates play, and the guy would come over and say, hey, you can't be in here, and I would show him the badge. He's like, oh, so sorry, my bad, I didn't know you were a pro. It was the coolest thing, and you know, like, a lot of people had comments about, I mean, I'm sure you guys talked about this all last week, but like, the championship bracket and how privileged it is to be there. But I think it's really important people understand that it's not like people were handpicked or invited to get up there. You know, they kind of had to earn it. They had to go to multiple MLGs and place highly. And it is a really beneficial place to be, but I feel like if you've earned that spot, it's okay to get those rewards.
Or if you Artosis your way into the spot.
Yeah. I left up 2 spots, I believe.
John, just laugh. So like, just let it out, Sean.
Explosion of laughter.
Geoff, in the middle of everything you were saying, that, by the way, was dead on the money.
It was,
and I was listening. But I look over and see, like, Tyler's face, like, split in half. And JP does this, like... I start scrambling to fix the camera setup. All of a sudden, I appear, and I'm all big, and I'm like, oh! Oh! And I'm starting to get, like, pulled off to the side, and boom, I get popped in, and then Tyler comes in. I'm just sitting there going, like...
I don't know why Dan decided he just had to straight up leave the call.
Yeah,
because I'm going to have to redo all this over again when he joins later, but...
He's got to go get Grandmaster. He's like, I'm in a good state. It's time to...
I'm feeling good. But, anyways, Geoff, I agree with everything you said. I also cannot congratulate you enough getting fourth again.
Yeah.
It's good, man.
And, I mean, the other thing, too, about that, like, not that I have to respond to all the trolls, but a lot of people are like... I mean, let me first and foremost recognize this. Like, people are overwhelmingly nice and positive about this. And I thank each and every one of you. But I was pretty upset that so many people were like, you beat bad players. I don't care about, like, for me. Like, I don't... That's fine. You know, you can criticize me all you want. But don't call Slush, TLO, Mihei, and Painties are bad players. That's like... They're not on a state of the game. They're not community people. They're just trying to play this game to the highest level they possibly can. And I think it's ridiculous that people could look at them and say they're all bad players. TLO beat some of the best players in that tournament to take 6th or 5th actually. Excuse me. Like,
I mean, he beat IdrA for fuck's sake.
IdrA, Tyler. These are not small names. Like, I'm sorry. He actually beat some really good people.
Yep. I think that's a good place to leave MLG. I don't know if Artosis will be joining us later on, but if he does, and you notice Tyler's head split in the middle for some reason on the overlay, that means that Artosis has once again joined the cast. But let's talk about something good, something positive. DreamHack happened today, and there was not one fuck up in the entire tournament. Every single game was awesome. Production quality. What?
Whoa.
You talk about this, but I'll make it negative real quick. Don't worry.
I can think of one game that was kind of bad.
Okay, what?
Wait. I have a special wardrobe for this conversation. Let Geoff start talking. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, Geoff, start
Well,
talking.
I'll say this. Like, I watch the games, and I'm an emotional guy. I'm on state of the game. I like to share my opinion on things, and I'll say this publicly. I should not have seen IdrA's games and then tweeted sarcastically about it immediately after. I do have criticism for him, but doing it in a jokingly manner in the open public does not, like, not everyone knows our interactions, so that comes off in the wrong way to some people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll publicly apologize for that. That's wrong. It's not professional, it's not good for EG, and it's not fair to IdrA. So I'm sorry. But that being said, and a lot of people are going to be really upset that I would continue after that, but I'm fine with that. People are going to be upset no matter what. Greg quit in Game 2, and I'm really not okay with that. Like, in Game number 1, he took the best Protoss on the planet down to the wire 2 or 3 times. He had him pretty, you know, if you don't want to say he was beat, he was at least in a position to lose. And he makes a grave mistake that Zergs make all the time, loses immediately after, understandably. And then Game number 2, he quits. And it really upsets me because it speaks to his psyche. And this is something we've talked about on the show many a time. Like, a guy should be confident from that first game. They should be like, oh my god, I can beat him. I just took him down to a 25-minute macro game, best Protoss on the planet, and there was times where I think I could have won. Like, I have him in game number 2, no problem. But Greg thinks the opposite. He's like, oh my god, he beat me after I went Broodlords. There's no way to beat Protoss, I quit. And I'm not okay with that.
It is too bad. Tyler, you sat back down.
Yes. Am I on camera now?
Yes, you are.
Yep, we made that shirt.
We couldn't see the bottom of it. You got to see the punchline.
The bottom says cheesy noob. That's
Machine
a quote.
made those. Bryce Bates.
Yeah.
That's
For
sick.
WCG, what year was that?
I think it was the year you won.
Yeah, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So here's the Eye of the Tiger now. When Greg went to Korea, he went to go play for Istro, and when he was there, Super Daniel Man, Daniel Lee, was the coach of Istro. And his, like, big pep talk for Greg that Greg came to Korea, great mechanics, great player, he was a rising star, and he was going to become a star in Korea. And it's like, Daniel Lee, what is missing from Greg? What does he need to be a star? And Daniel Lee's answer, Eye of the Tiger. Now, 3 years later, guys, does Greg have the Eye of the Tiger? No, man. That's the one thing he's still missing. And if he could have bounced back in Game 2 and given us another incredible game where he actually does that one extra thing to close it out and defeat MC straight up in a magnificent game that honestly we haven't seen from anyone yet. It would probably be one of the best CVPs ever played. If he had one in Game 1, it would have been one of the best CVPs the world had seen. And if he could have bounced back and done that in Game 2, it would have been incredible. But
I still remember his tester game from the Day 9 tournament in the beta, King of the Beta. That tester game on Metalopolis with the Ultralisk and stuff, that was one of the most incredible games I've ever seen. He is capable of doing it.
Yep.
Was that the game that you were going to criticize, Tyler, when I mentioned all the good games?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And to give people perspective, people say to me, well, why don't you tell him that? You're on his team. We do. And it runs deeper than just, he doesn't know it. It's actually a psychological thing. It's actually a sports competitive psychological thing. He has a tough time taking accountability for losses, and this is how he deals with it. But when Greg does break through this, and he's hearing it from people, I know DJ Wheat's talked to him, I know Scott, Sir Scoots, people talk to him, and they're doing it with earnest. It's not because they're selfishly mad at him or something like that. It's because they want him to succeed. He's one of the best players. He has a terrible mindset. If he ever connects those two on a positive rein, he will be one of the greatest players on the planet.
We'll have to wait and see. What did you guys think about the semifinals and the finals of that? Or I guess the finals, since that was one of the semifinals. We had White Raw going up 2-0 over MC. Looks like he was going to close it out, but then MC just won the next three.
I was going to say Sean, but I mean, for me personally, that first game with MC was amazing, and then I saw
it was ridiculous.
White Raw versus Show. I was kind of sad with that series because I've seen Show play pretty incredible. I think he was I don't know, not to put any words in his mouth, but maybe intimidated by White Raw or just doesn't have a beat on him or something. I didn't feel like he played that great. I don't know why you make 20 Vikings. He made 20 Vikings because he saw, I think, a couple Phoenix, but he picked off Phoenix for free the whole game, and then he goes Battle Cruiser. And I don't know, I think Battle Cruisers, unless you're EMPing them and upgrading them heavily, are actually pretty terrible. I'd love to hear someone tell me I'm an idiot for that, and I don't know. I've just never seen Battle Cruisers be that effective.
Everyone's wanted me to just get up and leave since everyone else already had. But somehow the show would probably cease to exist if that happened, I would think. But I actually forgot a lot of those matches that happened. Let me pull up the bracket. So Show, White Raw, MC, IdrA. What about, we talked about Huck's match. What about Jinro?
You gotta ask Tyler. Make Tyler the spokesperson of Team Liquid, because this is another tournament where, again, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but
I'm glad someone's saying
out
it.
In the first round.
Glad someone's saying it. Tyler, you gotta throw this team, man.
What? Well, I didn't watch the games.
Oh yeah, shoot.
The only matches I watched from DreamHack today were IdrA versus MC.
I'm going to put some positive spin on it, though, that I'm really happy to see.
Man.
And this
Let's
is the coolest thing I've ever seen in a long time. There's, newspaper articles about Jinro's return to Sweden.
Yep.
And he got, a hero's return. And I actually teared up reading it because there is nobody more deserving of that kind of positive attention. And, I literally, I don't know what it feels like because I've never had that kind of treatment. And that's not, a sad statement at all. He's actually being treated like a World War II.
He was,
like
there's a YouTube video of it, actually, Jeff, that you can watch.
I'll check it out.
When he enters, there's a huge swarm of people, people taking a ton of pictures.
His mom, his dad.
I honestly felt kind of bad because, Huck and MC were just kind of what?
No.
What is going on?
You can't look at that and feel bad, dude. That's his home country. He hasn't been home in a long time. He went to Korea as a guy who people didn't even know he was on the Team Liquid team. They were they had no idea. They knew it was
true.
K-Pro,
he probably made his name over there in Korea for sure.
And he just blew up. And he's the nicest guy. So I think that's so amazing. And kudos to Sweden for being such an awesome to recognize that, like
Yeah.
if an American went and did the same thing Genro did and came back, would they get the same treatment? I'd hope so, but I don't know.
Wasn't there something like that for IdrA? There was something in the past for some other player. It might have been TLO, actually. Now that
It's
I think about
probably
it.
all machine. If anything like that happened for IdrA,
There would just be a machine there.
Machine
But
for a party.
Welcome back, IdrA.
Can I just continue on that and just say how unbelievably continuously touched I am at how relentlessly nice and just sweet the StarCraft community is?
It's true.
It's amazing just how unbelievably nice. The idea of just embracing General when he gets home, and I mean to bring this up again, I was really bummed out that my daily crashed. I felt like I disappointed a lot of people, and I've been getting constant nice messages the whole time. And anytime anything goes wrong with so many projects, people are like, "Don't worry, just keep doing it," with everyone in the community. And I struggle to think of any other group who's so consistently unbelievably nice. So that's awesome. I want people for any of you who don't do this, just go support your players more, and they seriously appreciate the shit out of it. I certainly know I do. I know every single person here does. When you're just kind of having a crappy day, maybe nothing even happened. You're just just kind of feel off, and some total stranger took 10 minutes out of their day just to say something nice. It's just
Actually, I mean,
oh my god.
it's awesome that you said that the overlays that you're looking at right now was made by some stranger who I've never met. Just emailed it to me and said, "Here you go. If you want to use this, you can. If not," I was, of course somebody used it. That's it's so awesome looking.
Idiot.
Yeah. I had a chat with them after that. Made sure to get the transparent ones. But yeah, I should actually open up that email instead of just saying some guy. But here's a joke. This will be the next topic. Two Protoss walk into a bar, and they realize it's actually the finals of a tournament. Protoss is winning every single event lately. What do you guys think? Let Sean pose himself.
Do you think he's real? Do you think Sean actually thinks that's funny?
Well, the thing is that it was because a joke in my eyes is when there's 2 points that are not normally connected, and you make a clever connection between them, right? So when I think that your joke is going as two Protoss walk into a bar, it's the finals of a tournament, so what do you think about that? It's happening a lot. And that's the end.
It is, man.
That was just not what I was expecting. And there was this moment where I was waiting for a couple more words. A couple more words came, and I was like, "It's done!" And then I lost.
That's the design of the joke.
Jeff, take it back.
He's a real boy, Geoff.
I exist.
So talk to me about this. Why is Protoss just cleaning up every event out there? I mean, we've got 2 of them here. Why is it happening? And I can't ask Tyler first, even though he's clearing his voice. Geoff?
Well, I think Protoss are pretty on fire right now. I mean, the quick and easy answer that people want us to talk about is imbalance in the game. And then they're they've got it copy pasted to their rant about how we never talk about imbalances and we won't address it because we can't have an opinion on that or something like that. And I'm gonna stick to the tried and true. It was just a little while ago, and there was no patch in between where it was a Zerg vs. Zerg finals with Rhett and Morrow in one of the biggest European tournaments. We had 2 Terrans in the finals of the World Championship, so it's not like it's literally every tournament. It's not. It simply isn't. I think they're doing really well. I think Nanny was one of the best foreigner players, so I think it makes sense that he tears through MLG.
Right.
I think Kiwi Kaki's one of the best foreigner players, so it makes sense he tears through there. And then there's Select. Select's a Terran player, did fantastic. And I don't know. People are expecting some kind of either admittance that there's an imbalance for me, or some weird defense that the game's actually perfectly fine. I'm going to give you neither. I just think it's pretty circumstantial, to be honest.
And also, to even touch on some gameplay stuff, I still haven't seen as many Zergs just go nuts with Infestors in Zerg vs. Protoss.
It's true.
Because, if you do, dear Protosses, please speak to this truth. It's, unfair when Zerg has, 12 Infestors, and it's, his whole army.
They're expensive, so it's harder. But you're right. There should be more of them. That's for sure.
It's like
Yeah.
I hardly even want to build like anything that costs gas except
Broodlord,
like
Corruptor, Infestor, and anything to support
Yeah.
them is invincible, actually.
yeah, like honestly, like I've been saying this to like tons of people lately, and I even like made that basically the Fun Day Monday for next week, where I'm pretty much just going like Queen, Infestor, Broodlord, and that's like my combo. And plus expansion. Get like 7 expansions. There's like maybe 8 drones mining minerals at each of them, but 6 drones mining gas at each of them as well. And I have like 3 control groups of investors. This is referring back to the archaic time when a control group meant 12. That's my way of saying it.
I hate making excuses for Zergs too, but like they don't use Nidus Worm, and the argument I hear back every time is they're expensive, and that sounds so petty to me. Like I don't even know how to address it. It's like
I gotta amortize.
Protoss shouldn't build anything. Like our shit's expensive. It's kind of costly.
creep is a problem for Zerg, and the Nidus Worm literally negates that. Like the way the Nidus Worm functions in every Zerg's brain right now, except like 2, is you have to do it in your opponent's base, and it has to be a sneak attack. That's not actually the only way the Nidus Worm has to be used. It can actually be used for harass, for moving your army from one side of the map to the other.
Was it Moon that was doing some of that today, Geoff? Or no? Someone was using Nidus earlier.
Vibe does it a lot.
Maybe it was Vibe. There was some Zerg that was on the NSL games that was using a lot of Nidus for play.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah, I know.
He just like expands cross map to the other main, and just Nidus Worms to it. Reminiscent of the Nidus Worm in Brood War, which is like the reason that you got it. And it's kind of like, oh yeah.
It's weird that it got so forgotten though. It like got improved. It's you can actually have more Nidus Worms, and people looked at it from Brood War and were like, God, they made it better. Well, I can't use that. It's stupid. It costs too much money. Every time I put down a network, I have to spend money. That's ridiculous. I need to bank 5K, 3K so I can make more roaches.
One of my favorite things is like late game, because like I think every Zerg is kind of comfortable with the idea that at like the 6-minute mark I'm maxed on roaches. That's just like what you do with Zerg, right? And then they just kind of let the money stockpile. Get like 3 Nidus networks, and just like force your way into the back of somebody's base, because you know they'll do the thing where they pull their probes off. But if you're just like bam, 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 you just like keep planting them down, and get like 40 overseers. It's like these extreme things that you would only do if you're messing around are actually like some of the most effective ways to close off a game.
It's actually true.
You just jam Nidus Worms in the back of his base and infest every pylon and gateway and like cannon. Like anyone in here ever contaminated an assimilator? Doesn't do anything, but you can if you have 40 infestors late game.
It just frustrates me because I know that as we have this conversation, we're going to get a lot of hate for it. And I don't like that, because the alternative is we say, what? Yeah, you're right, the game's broken. But I guess when I hit that training track, like, what does a Zerg do? What are they working towards? I mean, I don't like that mentality. I just don't. And the easy answer is, like, if you think the game's completely broken, then switch to Protoss. Like, I'm sorry.
We'll have to get Tyler to go and do another, whatever you posted, the philosophy of Day 9.
Yeah. I was gonna say the other thing about Nidus Worms was like Zerg will say, well, it can be stopped. Like that's why they say it's too expensive. I think is they're like it's not high enough success rate, but like it's not that bad. And let me tell you a story about this game called StarCraft 1, where in TVC. Dropships are going around the map non-stop, and Zerg had these units called Scourge, which are faster than dropships, and pretty much flying everywhere from any decent Zerg playing ZVT.
And Scourge are flying banelings that don't do 30 damage. They did 110 damage per hit.
Yeah. You got to pair them for 25 minerals and 75 gas. And you just fly them around in pairs, and any time a dropship was spotted by your billion overlords everywhere, you were just like, oh, kill the dropship easily. And yet, you can't play TVZ without threatening to drop and actually dropping, like, all game long. Like,
yes,
that's what we saw, like, non-stop in like, high-level TVZ is just drops. And Scourge exists, and, like, it's like if this happened... You know, if we were in StarCraft 1, we're with StarCraft 2 right now, we would tell Terrans, hey, you need to drop more. And they're like, are you dumb? Zerg have Scourge. You can't do drop play against Zerg. But it's like, that's not how StarCraft works. It's
Yes.
You can't just say, like, there's this way to stop it easily, and my opponent's always going to stop it. There's ways to force things, and that's what pro players have to do.
And I love your use of the word force, because that's what made it really scary, is like, I think there was like that period for every Zerg where you kind of like, all right, cool, like right in that B+, A- A range on Icy Cup, where the Terran players would like, you know, they would push, and that's what they did. Or if they dropped, you had your Scourge there, you're like, all right, I'm ready. But then when you're playing against like A+ Terrans, who just like force the drop to work, they just push, and their whole army cuts a line right for a dropship to cut through. So it's like right when the drop gets to your front door, like this drop, or when the push gets to your front door, it's like suddenly there's a dropship that comes in, and you're like, how could I have seen that? My overlords couldn't have been in the position. There's like no way. And like Zergs who are like, I even recall watching Sen play games on Metalopolis where he stops at like 55 drones or so, and just begins churning out roaches, just tons of roaches, hitting the back, hitting the front, getting speed and burrow, and the Protoss army is bouncing between the second and third base on Metalopolis, and that's like a prime position where it's like, and if a Nidus worm starts going down the back of the base, there's like zero that the Protoss could do about it.
I want to piggyback on that point real quick, because how many times have you guys watched a Zerg game where their army is 100% in one place? It's not, there's no pack of lanes countering here. There's no counter army. There's no drop happening. They don't do multi-prong attacks. And I played Zerg for over a decade, and I can tell you, that was not a successful way of playing Brood War. And I don't understand why we play the next game of StarCraft, and people think Zerg turns into the Protoss, where they have this one army that just moves around the map and kills everything. That's not how it works.
You know the one thing that I think... Oh, sorry, I'm completely...
I tend to trail, so go ahead.
Taking it... Because one thing that like I think it's like subtle but like still important is that the way the internet worked when Brood War was like on the upswing was so different than now. I mean, like now, like, you know, a bunch of nerds in their rooms can like suddenly create a pretty smooth looking video podcast called State of the Game. I call this Nerds. You know, like, and there's a forum where someone can say, hey, here's a cool build order, and someone's like, yeah, if you want, you can look at my build order database, and there's 40,000 entries for exactly what you're talking about. So the ability to discuss and to like have concern about it gets really widespread. Whereas, you know, maybe two people would be like, I'm so frustrated with blank, you know, and would in essence be venting, less so than actually claiming to any sort of imbalance. Suddenly that can just immediately spread like wildfire everywhere. And what feeling I always had, I don't know about, you know, you, Geoff, or Tyler, if you've ever had this, where when you were really trying to figure a build out, you'd get in a situation where it felt like flipping a coin. And you felt like, well, God, he's either going to do this and I win, or he's going to do that other thing and I lose. And And it felt like you had to maybe like send an extra probe out and hope he wouldn't find it by minute 13, and then like checks. It was like these super thin, stupid looking things, and if his overlord's at like a 48-degree angle instead of a 38, then you know he's doing this, if he remembered to scout with it. And it was always in those moments where you had to like stop and take a bunch of steps back and go, okay, let me actually change a little bit more than I was doing before. Well, and it works with those really subtle elements because, you know, in StarCraft 2, what is kind of a curse about the fact that units are so good against other units is that if you stumble across the correct composition, you can crush. Like if I say, is he going Zergling, and I make a bunch of Zealots with like +1, I'll crush. Or if I just kind of think he's going Roaches and I make a bunch of Immortals, it'll feel like I crush. But there's like the in-between zone where I can go Zealots and get a lot of force fields, and I can do pretty well against both as long as the numbers are small. But that doesn't work on paper. You kind of have to think a little bit harder about it. And that's the thing that I think is going to take forever, or, you know, like Naniwa was saying in his interview, like 2 to 3 years for people to sort of figure out the right tactics and be comfortable working in these very small, subtle edges where someone says, but that doesn't sound like it works. It's like, yeah, but you know, it actually does work.
Let me say a couple things. There's a couple mentality points, too, that, like, one, in Brood War, we were an abandoned community, so to speak. Like, we did not have the expectation, or it was not possible for us to be like, they'll patch this. It was not. So there was never that consideration. It was not a process of your thought. If it was, you were an idiot. because all their patches happened magically, and they were like 5 years apart. Like it would just come down. We never heard anything about it. It would just happen. But the second one, this is really important for people to hear this, and I hope this hits somebody. If it hits one person, that's awesome. I played Brood War, as did these guys, and there would be points in the game. I don't know if this was the same for you guys, but it was for me, where literally, like on Heartbreak Ridge CBT, I would be like, okay, if they get to this place where their tanks are sieged up and they've SimCity'd their bases, I'm dead. It's over. It's over. I cannot win. So I played the game in accordance to that, trying to edge out that scenario or get a massive leading up to that so that I can overcome it. But that mentality is not applicable, sadly, for StarCraft 2 players for the large part. They believe that in any game, in any situation with any army, they should be able to win. That is not how StarCraft is played.
I've been saying that for so long. I try to draw parallels like, StarCraft 1, TVP, Terran, if you let them max with 1 billion tanks and 3/3 upgrades, and then you're like max 10 minutes ago, and you're like, but you can't attack because they're turtling. And you like get all frustrated because the Terran just moves out and you get rolled. Like that's very much the same as a lot of Zerg players feel about Protoss, where now Protoss is the Terran and Zerg is the Protoss. Protoss can just sit there in StarCraft 2, macro off 3 base, move out with the death ball, and the Zerg just attacks it head on, gets rolled, and then dies. And they're like, that's not fair. Like, I need to have a way to kill that there. And no, like there needs to be situations in the game where one race wins in that situation. Like the game would never end if you can't win. Like there are scenarios where you win.
There's 100% chance of forcing a draw regardless of the situation.
That's like exactly it. It's like, because what would happen if you gave Zerg a tool to just roll the death ball? And then Protoss would say, well, it's imbalanced. I sat there and macroed perfectly off 3 base. The Zerg didn't touch me, and when I rolled out, I just got rolled, and that's not how it should be. I should be able to kill him. And then, there's just situations where you lose, and you have to avoid those situations. Those situations existing don't have anything to do with balance or imbalance. We need to figure them out, and then, work around them. But just because we figured one of them out and, no one has figured out a way to work around it yet, doesn't mean there's...
Wait, so, Tyler, you're saying that the game's only out for a year and there's still more to explore? My mind's being exploded right now.
Well, it's kind of funny that, I've even had to, try to be more disciplined towards myself, being like, okay, you have to obey what the game is telling you is right and wrong. Because, I have a lot of mental tools established in Brood War that are helpful, but in some circumstances might actually be wrong. I'm really curious to get, your immediate thoughts on this. I feel like in Brood War, there were very key points where it was important to cut all unit production and spend all your money adding on more gateways or factories. Not for Zerg, we just got my hatchet sometimes.
Yeah.
But even Zerg had really complex larva management that I don't want to go into. But there'd be a point where you're like, I'm going to stop making units. I'm going to add on more. It feels like you need to do that a lot more frequently in StarCraft 2 because each individual unit has so much impact that I'm having to do a lot of okay, I make a unit, and then I make another one, and then I stop and add on 2 more structures. Then I make a 3rd unit, and then I add on 2 more gateways. There's this kind of stuttery feel, but it's something that was hard for me to become comfortable with. Objectively, I'd be like, all right, at 8 minutes, I have 6 more Marines. So this is clearly the correct thing to do. But I'm so used to this, constant unit production out of everything. Totally constant. And if you do that, you're going to have some great success. You can honestly get into, top 200 in your region, just following a lot of those Brood War rules. But if you want to get in top 10 or really dominate those higher players, you've got to have these kind of goofy things that again are obeying the constraints of the game.
Geoff, do you want us to talk about that more, or should we just go on to questions?
I feel like
we had a good
made our points.
Good end discussion.
I feel like we had a definite upswing from that.
Fuck yes.
Depressing start. Oh my god, let me just say.
I was getting ready to pull the plug. I'm not even fucking kidding.
Well, it bears mentioning that we actually didn't talk too much about DreamHack because we actually started talking about balance because of IdrA. But just let's leave off on this note. DreamHack, you did a fantastic.
It was
job.
awesome. Yeah.
Sweden as a country, like it's one of my dreams to go visit. Not necessarily because of any like historical site or landscape, but it feels like the Swedish people are some of the most esport friendly and supportive people I've ever seen in my life, and I would love to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, Star 2 was on. I think it was on TV. It was definitely on the biggest newspaper over there. On their website, and also I think in the actual newspaper. So
all the players hand like bar none. They all like Dario TLO moved there because the Swedish people are so awesome, literally.
Right. Oh, we actually didn't really talk about the fact that they're getting a European house together, which is I guess just good to hear. That's probably all we could actually say about that. But I do want to take questions from the chat real quick before we wrap this up. In the meantime, you can follow the State of the Game Twitter at State of the Game, or twitter.com/State of the Game. You can follow my Twitter at twitter.com/HitMeJP. Review us on iTunes. Check out the daily news show that I do with Chobo Peon called SC Center right here at justin.tv/HitMeJP. Also hitmejp.com. A lot of JPs lately. Sean, just go Google Day 9. Is that adequate?
Yeah, Day 9 or Day 9 TV.
Were you wrapping up the show?
Yeah. Then we're going to take questions right after we wrap it up.
Facebook.com/Day9TV. I want more people to go there. I don't direct people there enough. That would be cool. But that exists. That's real. I actually realized I haven't mentioned that in a while. Whoops. I need to get better about being more shameless and plugging. I need to call,
I'm the worst at it
my
too,
brother,
man.
be like, "How do you do it?"
People are like, SC Center gets more or needs more views. And I'm like, well, I'm shitty at promoting. I apologize.
Like, I'm busy making the show. Yeah, like that's. Well, it's like so fortunate that again, like the StarCraft community is like, that's good. I'll make a forum thread about it and tweet about it and put a blog about it and other people read it.
A lot of people are being pretty supportive of that show, so thank you guys. Tyler, where can people go check you out? And pull some questions while you're doing this.
Twitter is Tyler Washaleski. That's T-Y.
Hold on, let me bring this up on
WEISCHGHLEIGHSKIY.
Spell it, Tyler.
It's WASIELESKI. Yep.
Okay, there.
So JP's got it.
Go check that out right there.
Someone can make a graphic for JP, a nice fancy graphic for him to put on the show at this point where I'm talking about.
Like
the
a
dancing
45-second animated 3D cinematic of your last
each
name.
letter just slides in really slow. It takes like 2
Yeah. Like your last name's like harder than memorizing digits of pi. Seriously, I like cannot wrap my head around your last name.
By the way, Artosis just lost against someone on a stream. I think he was playing against Vibe, and it was streamed, so he left us to go lose some more games.
He did actually, didn't he?
Yep.
He says, I gotta go, and he
Is that who I was watching? I had Vibe stream open. I like have 1 or 2 streams open all day, every day, and just like.
Well, that's my thumbs up to you, Artosis. That's what you get for leaving.
That's hilarious.
Geoff,
like,
Tyler, are you good?
I don't want Dan to lose anymore. I like Dan.
I'm good.
You're good, man. Geoff?
I'm a little bit on cloud 9. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone that turned out for the NASL opening night. It was actually overwhelmingly positive and supportive, and it went off. We definitely have stuff to improve upon, but I'm pretty happy with it, and just want to thank everyone for that. For me personally, you can follow me at 88InControl on Twitter and InControl TV on Justin TV, so please click follow on there. I will be streaming more. And then InControl TV on YouTube. Subscribe to that. I'm going to be, once things calm down just a little bit, I will be adding commentaries there as well. InControl is on Facebook. A lot of people actually tease me because they see me posting in third person there, but that's actually Anna. She manages that website. So
Anna said she's going to call me next time instead of you, Geoff. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, standard. She's a little upset that I guess I told her to wrap it up, but
I won't mention that then.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean, she's not actually mad. She's just teasing. But
I'll apologize later.
Okay.
For you or something. I don't know. Continue on, Geoff.
I'm pretty excited. Tune into NASL tomorrow. That is my play day. I played in Snare from Team OGS. Should be a good match.
Is that the Magikarp face? Geoff, you get everything?
Well, actually, a couple things. First, also, and I've actually bummed out on this the last couple times, and I apologize to them. But check out sc2cast.com. They support me. They're pretty supportive of esports in general. They definitely have a thread on Team Liquid, but they got VODs and commentaries up on their website. It's actually an awesome website, really good for anyone that needs additional content for StarCraft 2. So that's SC2Cast. And then last but certainly not least, big shout out to EG. They've actually, no, I'm not actually going to say anything about things that are exciting in the future for them. And it's nothing against EG. It's
EG is going to be hitting status quo in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I've used up all my announcing powers for the next 200 years. So I'm just really happy to be on EG. The sponsors are excellent. There's some pretty cool trips that I'll be taking and speaking about esports to big conferences on behalf of EG and Intel, and I'm really excited for that opportunity because they're not conferences like PAX or they're not gaming-minded people. This is actually corporate-minded people, so I get to kind of hopefully expand StarCraft and its reach to new people, and I'm really excited at that opportunity. So thank you to EG, Intel, SteelSeries, MSI Notebook, Kingston HyperX. I hope you guys saw that at PAX East. So yeah, big thanks to everybody.
Great booth there by Kingston.
I'd like to give a shout out to wellplayed.org too.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Topic of mentioning new folks springing up into community.
Doing good,
Their
man.
website's fancy, man. So
They are doing good over there, and
They're
they're involved with
sending you a
NASL, right?
yeah.
Jeff?
They are. They're the community attached to the NASL. So any kind of forum discussion that goes on
Awesome.
gets linked to that, and they're the Reddit guys. They're the
Yeah, the SC Reddit
they
team.
made a home for themselves, and they're talking about hosting some tournaments as well. And their one tournament they have under their belt was one of the best tournaments.
I know
That's
that's
good, man.
Oh,
I'm pretty excited about what they're going to produce. There's actually a small army of them. They were at MLG Dallas, and they're all real. They've got jobs and families, but they love StarCraft, so this is what they do. It's a pretty cool community.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Got some questions. We can't have a state of the game without having a question from Cockhorse. Tell us your silly names, nicknames that we carry or had as a child. Jeff, do you got any silly names?
It's actually interesting.
Sean's
there's a couple
just
things.
dreading this.
There's people called me Greg, and that's not a silly name. That's more just that Jeff, spelled with a G, confuses people, and they call me Greg. So I got that on my whole life.
Whenever I type your name, I still type it as Geoff for whatever reason, but when I actually say it, it's Jeff no matter what. It's actually one of the weirdest things ever.
It is Jeff. So.
Yeah.
I get called Dog my whole life. My football coach, my basketball coach,
Dog.
my teachers. Yeah, they've always called me Big Dog. I don't know. That's you want a silly name, that's what I got called.
Big Dog. Sean, you look a little bit nervous or something to answer this. What was
Nick
your
had a
nickname?
lot of things that he called me. Nick called me a Muppet for many years. Actually, because I had long floppy hair that was parted in the middle. So I was called Floppy, not in a mean way, not I'd come home and be like, "What up, Floppy?" and put a cigarette out in my eye, but he'd be like, "Hey, little Floppy brother," and I'm like, "Hey, Nicky," and I used to sleep a lot because I ran cross country, so I would fall asleep multiple times a day just out of pure exhaustion. So he called me El Gato. I slept a lot, like a cat.
El Gato.
El Gato.
There you go.
Yeah. I know there's more. Nick had a new nickname for me every couple of months.
I just want to take any opportunity to plug your old alias Strider Doom because it was so amazing.
Strider Doom. I gotta
Good one.
just beat that again. I'm gonna change
Dude,
it to 9.
Rebrand everything.
You gotta Smurf sometime and make
It's the
that your
Strider
one,
Doom
so
Daily.
your inside fans can get it. Your secret awesome fans from Google know it.
And the 8,000 people watching right now.
Yeah, shoot. They don't matter.
Tyler, you got nicknames?
Noonie, man. Noonie was my nickname. Just completely made up, nonsense name. It didn't come from anywhere. It just sounded cool. Everyone called me Noonie when I was a kid.
Mine was
Well,
Ronald
everyone
McDonald.
called me Noonie.
Noonie.
I never had a nickname because JP kind of just fits, but Ronald McDonald was kind of the common one since last name's McDaniel.
That's nice.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I did have
Yeah.
orange hair also when I was in high school, so that fit.
Did you terrorize children who dress as a clown as well, or was that just...
No, it was a back in high school when dyeing your hair blonde was the streaks.
You went with orange?
Well, I overdyed it. and it turned orange. I was Super Saiyan for about a good week or so. That's how that went.
That's longer than most Super Saiyans.
It's true. It's true. I was very powerful. Over 9,000, some might say. Wild Rattel says, "Dear State of the Game crew, can you tell your opinions about the last game of DreamHack?" The only reason I'm asking, or that this is getting asked, is because he says there's a lot of controversy over the topic that MC cheesed and did not deserve the win. Play to win for money or play for the entertaining show. I think you guys are just going to probably trash this in the sense that it's an easy answer for you guys.
Everyone agrees he played to win.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There should be no debate the fact that he cheesed to get money, but that's just a stupid argument.
It's not a good question.
Yeah.
It's not like he
it was one of the more common ones too.
14-year-old, well, he's like, oh yeah, sure, did something horrible to some person. He just did something that was absolutely available in the constraints of the game.
The funny thing too is, I guess, to give a little bit of information on that, is some of the comments I got after I quote unquote cheesed TLO is, on State of the Game, you're always giving Koreans a hard time for cheesing. There's two different hats. There's one as a spectator, when of course you don't want cheese unless it gets held off and turns into a 45-minute epic scrap game.
Yeah.
But then there's the player who, if there was a cheese even cheesier than what he did, but it has a higher percentage of win, guess what? He'd do it, man. Because he has to win. He doesn't care about the good game.
It reminds me a lot of the 2v2 map DMZ that made a wonderful appearance in the Pro League for 6 weeks. Do you guys remember this? It was a 6-player 2v2 map where you all spawned in the center, and there was a 6-way cut of disruption webs. For any of you who didn't play Brood War, disruption webs, if you're on a disruption web, you can't attack. There are little tiny cracks in the disruption web, so if you controlled it really well, you could maybe have 1 or 2 units firing. And everyone just SCV rushed. It was 4-pool SCV rush. Only Zerg Terran team sent out. Once, a Protoss Zerg was sent out, they just SCV rushed 4-pool the other Zerg and just, immediately won. And it's, it's the shortest-lived map in all of Pro League. It got removed so fast. They're just this is stupid. We don't want this. And
I guess as a community, they just kind of feel shortchanged on a lot of those maps and those games, but money's on the line. These players, although in interviews, he probably does play a lot for the community, and I'm sure everyone else does as well, but money's on the line. This is their lives.
You got to keep it real. They're watching people trying to win. You don't want someone to be like, I could have won. I know how I could have won, but I wanted to show the fans this other thing. No.
Yeah.
You're watching people try to win, and if you get tired of how the games are playing out, just remember that.
We got to keep that in mind.
And also, it helps to push the development of the game because let's assume for a minute that we're playing a game called StarCraft Brood War where there's no patches incoming. There's not even a letter that appears ever. The way people adjusted it was they just made different maps. They just fiddled around with it, and they kind of stumbled across the architectures that had certain, benefits or anti-benefits. What's the opposite of a benefit? A hindrance? A hurt? An obstacle?
Those are all, I think, all 3, all 4. You got any more?
You're nailing it right now. Just to summarize my point is as a player, you play to win. As a spectator, of course, I want the most epic game possible, and when sudden cheese happens, we're disappointed. But if you actually take it to the next step and you fault the player for that, now you're being a dumbass. I'm sorry. There's no way around it.
True words have never been spoken.
You know what I just thought of, and I have to mention this. More nostalgia about StarCraft 1. Before we had balance via new map making, there was a period of time where, for years, serious players only played Lost Temple. 99% of your games, every single game was Lost Temple.
That's actually the only map I ever played on in StarCraft 1, to be 100% honest.
No balance patches were coming, and then you didn't play new maps. Everyone, I think the Koreans had a little more variety in maps. Everyone outside of Korea, for a long time, 99.
No variety.
Well, their tournaments at least did.
I'd argue Lost Temple changed.
Although Game Eye and shit was
Game Eye was all LT, man.
Yeah,
it changed LT, and that's I think what spurned people towards changing maps in general. You actually, because LT had an imbalance. Tanks could shoot from the low ground on that right side expansion for a while and hit the main.
Yeah. It
like one main like had a gas that you could just like walk to and shoot from the low ground. And that's you didn't get gas. You'd be at that expansion, you'd be like, well, how am I going to overcome this? I only get
The ramp.
if I take my expansion. Yeah, yeah.
the mineral patches at 6 o'clock. They were just like you mined at different rates depending where you spawned. The ones at 6 o'clock were just in a shitty formation, and you just got less money if you spawned there.
And there were just threads written about it, like, you always try to avoid spawning in 6, because you get about 80% efficiency, you know? They had the same little charts there, but people were
9
just
o'clock.
like...
9 o'clock was the worst for me. That ramp leading to the natural.
Curly ramp.
As a
Oh,
Zerg player,
God.
I had a triple hatch. My second hatch had to either be at the top of that ramp or at the base of it. Otherwise,
I remember Zerg's like, where do I put my third hatch?
Yeah,
it was
annoying.
So we had nothing to look forward to. When we lost a game, we were just like, well, this is it. I have to play in this exact same situation again. So I got to figure it out or quit playing.
Yeah, and like top was just the greatest because you had like 2 second naturals. For some reason, they just gave like one of the locations like an base to expand.
Both the minerals were easy accessible, and
yeah, like Wright's natural expansion was like easier for North to take than it was for Wright to take. Like so dumb, and like all the 12 versus 3s, like but it was so interesting. This discussion isn't just nostalgia; it's like fascinating in terms of like map logic because I mean, people are still doing this sort of like, here's my build for Metalopolis, here's my build for Slag Pits, whatever one of the new maps.
We should have a State of the Game throwback where we all wear zoot suits and talk about Brood War.
Dude, do you want to do that next week? I'm in the mood to talk about
What the
Brood
fuck
War,
am I
man.
gonna? I'll just sit here and be like, sounds good.
Do what you normally do, you mean?
I guess so.
That's my mean comment. I haven't done that in like 3 months. I'm sorry. I take it back.
Yeah, we were on such an uplifting note that now I'm just gonna have to end the show.
I actually take it back entirely. I'm sorry.
That'll be the end of the show, actually. No,
I'm still bringing it back to Lost Temple. I'm still bringing it back because like still people in StarCraft 2 have like their builds they do on the map, but in like, after playing Lost Temple, because I mean just like Tyler said, I played Lost Temple from like 1998 to like 2003. It's like the map that I played on. You had like a different build for every single pairwise positions. Like 12 versus 3, I did differently than 3 versus 12 in every single matchup. I had like my proxy position build that I would do specifically when we were really, really close. You know, like the 3 versus 9 that was like so stupidly close by ground. It was like worse than 12 versus 3 practically.
Dude, I'm so happy that Peaks of Baked made it back into StarCraft 2. Crossfire.
Yeah.
So good.
Except there's no constriction in the center. You can just like beeline for his base with your maxed army.
Well, do you remember the construction of the past where your AI would bug out and you'd have to manually grab your units from Twitter map?
And I loved that.
Yeah, it was awesome. But your small units would go through and suicide, and you're like, oops, I split my army.
Yep. I hated that so bad.
Oh, I loved lurkers on that map so much.
That's the map I won my championship, man. That I literally, every time I ever lost or had to pick a map in 2007, it was Peaks to Baked.
That map was my dog.
It was good for Zerg.
Love that map. Dude, I still remember playing Testy and when we were tied 2-2 at the Pan American, and he tried to 2-gate Zealot Rush me, and oh my gosh, had I practiced that like so much. Oh.
Good time, man.
I beat you with 2-gate Zealot Rush at the US Open.
Yeah, I practiced so much against that because like now I like because before I was going like so gas heavy and would like switch to Mutalisk, but against you I was like maybe I should just skip the Mutalisk, and that was just like not a good idea. You can control space like so much better. Your 2-gate was like stupidly good though.
Why, thank you.
That was like fuck you. I hated your 2-gate. It was so I still remember at like WC 2006 when like you did that like 2-gate into Reaver build and you killed like 38 Zerglings with 1 Scarab, and I was like, oh my god! I like tried to surround it with everything. I was like, I don't play against this very much. It's just like, boom, boom.
Yeah, I love 2-gate though, because see, this is another good point I think for the StarCraft 2 players, and a little perspective is like, you can look at a build like 2-Gate Zealot Rush in StarCraft. Okay, you build some Zealots early on, pressure the Zerg who's probably expanding, and that's like the idea behind it. But like over the years, there was such a science to it. Like every single probe and every single Zealot timing, like I had to adjust, and exactly when I'd get my gas, transition out of it, or how much I would commit, and exactly where I'd position my Zealots, and all like every little subtle thing about the build, adjustments were made based on what I was scouting. So like you couldn't just be like, here's the build order, go do it. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Like I would play a game and I'd say, oh shit, I lost because I built one probe here, and then that caused this, and then that caused this, and then I was in an impossible to win scenario. And maybe that's like, maybe that kind of mistake is the kind of mistake like a Zerg makes against a Protoss now in every single game. And every single game they get into an impossible to win scenario and they say it's imbalanced. And like at one spot they made a drone when they shouldn't have. Like that kind of subtlety is like what I look forward to still be developing like 10 years from now in StarCraft 2. And I'd love for people to just be focusing on that rather than thinking even for a split second about imbalance or getting frustrated or anything. Just start looking at every single detail in the entire game, positioning, timing, all of it. That's what we do as players, and that's like, and then the spectators can begin to appreciate that. So that's StarCraft, folks. That's what it is for me. So.
Oh god, I'm still reliving all those 2K games, man.
Yeah.
I'm completely enthralled with the game. Like I played the first 8 months of this game, 9 months, pretty absent-mindedly. Like I won and lost just off of brood war instinct, basically. And a couple months ago, I went back and was like, you know what, you're not doing that great. There's a reason for this. People are just flat out beating you. And I looked into it, and there's like, I think I'm, obviously pretty late to the table, but there's a huge science to it. Like I lose because I've got 42 probes and he's got 25, or I win because of the same kind of differences. And you can't just play this game willy-nilly. It has to be broken down to that level. If you're playing against someone as good as you or better, at least that's really the case. And I feel like a lot of people overlook that art.
And that's also why I say that, like, if you lose in a really stupid way, that probably means you're on the right track. Like, a lot of really dumb-looking losses means you're kind of close. It's like when you have, like, 80 drones and no units, and they attack with, whatever, and they just, like, won. It's like, whoa. But I did get a lot of drones out, or, like, one of those things where, well, I just need to be good enough to throw a force field down here. And if I throw it down, I win, period. And if I miss it, then I lose immediately to all these banelings. And it looks dumb. It looks like you had nothing, and then the banelings came and they killed you. But there's that player out there who has like a cannon and a sentry and knows exactly where to place each force field. The banelings come at each angle, and then he wins. And then he looks like a hero. But don't shy away from silly losses.
See you guys next week.
And that was